Hey guys, welcome to the Hammer Radio Guy podcast channel. As I've said several times on the podcast, we'll be talking about griddles and smokers and doing some of the cooking and things that I enjoy doing as my second hobby for the year. And so one of those things I want to talk about today was the process I went through in purchasing a griddle and why I chose this brand specifically and how you go about taking and seasoning that griddle. So the first part of this is, as I was doing my research for which griddle to get, because everyone knows of a popular brand like Blackstone, and those are, I think, very fine griddles. They're a good entry level, a good starter griddle, and I can appreciate them. I've used them before. I've had one. It was given to me, and I cooked on it a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do is cook on that griddle. In fact, sometimes I'd cook more on the griddle than I did the grill myself. But as I started to do some research looking for one myself to buy this time, was what are the characteristics of the different brands that are out there? As I saw Traeger and a LoCo and Blackstone, and Blackstone had several different models available as well. So more a little bit lower end, a little bit more higher end, and griddles can go from $299 all the way to $1,200 or $1,300. And so it seemed like there was such a wide range in what you'd get. So what did that really include? Well, one of the things I was looking at was just quality and build and how firm it was. My previous Blackstone seemed like it was a little wobbly at times, and didn't always feel like I had to tighten up a couple bolts to keep things more secure. So as I bought this next one, which I'll tell you about in a minute, was I started, I went to Home Depot, I looked at some online, I did a lot of reviews, watching videos from YouTube of people who do more professional griddling than I have done myself. And the brand I went with was LoCo, L-O-C-O. The reason I did this was that the different ways you can do grease traps was unique to every brand, and nobody really did it consistently. Like the Blackstone has an open steel container on the back that you kind of shove your grease into. The LoCo had a small corner trap that was a little square that you shoved your grease down into, or it ran down into. And Traeger had a similar one that was more, I think, in the middle, if I remember right. And so it was kind of the convenience locations for some of those grease traps where things would fall, or little burnt off pieces of food. But the main component for me was how the griddle held that grease trap. So on the LoCo, it has a specific little handle in front with like a kind of like about the size of a coffee filter that you would have your grease run down into. You can just basically pick it up, pull it out, and it was easy to dump and clean up, and it had the enamel and paint on it. The Traeger, however, had a more of a elongated pan, which I felt like when you picked up the handle and pulled it out, that maybe if that grease trap was really full, that maybe the back end of that would almost fall out from your hand or get really heavy and you'd spill some of that. So I wanted to be able to more of a better feeling there, being secure and dumping that grease. Another component I was looking at was how well did the grill evenly heat. A lot of the different grills can be almost burnt toast on one side to just a light regular toast on the other side. And what they did by doing this test, they would take out 15 to 20 pieces of bread, lay them on the griddle for 5 minutes, and let that go across the whole griddle and see how that space it takes up, and how did that slice of bread heat evenly throughout that 5-minute time period. And again, some places, some of the griddles were really burnt, some were really light toast on the other side, or almost maybe still half white. So in choosing the LoCo, it was a kind of a middle of the road. It seemed to heat pretty evenly across the board. And what I liked about this one specifically was that it had 3 individual compartments of where the heat are for the 3 different burners. And so there was a kind of a metal plate that goes in between those to help keep those evenly. So if you need to throw some food to the side, it was a lot easier to maybe turn that burner down and not keep the heat going across the other 2, the same as you did on that third channel or that third burner level. And so you could throw something a little bit cooler over there for a few minutes and just keep it cool while you're trying to cook the rest of it, or keep it warm while you're trying to cook the rest of it. So those are some of my considerations I took in creating or purchasing this griddle. So I want to walk you through some of the steps and things that we'll be doing with this griddle. But some of the very first important characteristics is to make sure you season that griddle from the very beginning, applying several different coats. So what I do is I took the process of putting up, turning the burners up to 400 degrees. I let them sit there for about 10 minutes and get nice and hot. Once I know it is really hot, then I took some canola oil and put it on the top of the griddle, and I spread those with some tongs and a rag. Some people use paper towels, but I have to use several of those, so I just took one rag and I throw it away when I'm done. And I would heat that evenly as I go through the process. So I'm going to show you that video today of how we go through and do that, and I'll speed up through the kind of the slower process of some of this, but that will be the initial take. And I got a couple photos at the end of some food I've already produced on it. So hope you enjoy this. Hope you're going to enjoy some of the cooking and griddling and maybe smoking that we'll be doing this summer. And we'll talk to you again. Don't forget to subscribe and like button. And let's go take a look at the griddle. Okay, so we've got the grill nice and hot here. We're gonna pour some canola oil onto our LoCo Griddle here. This is brand new. Got it seasoned up, got the heat on here. Pour some nice even heat on here, or oil and the heat. Of course it starts to run. Got it just right here. I'm gonna use tongs or something that's nice and hot. And I wanted to start taking the oil and just pushing it all the way around, make it nice and smooth, covering all the surfaces. You can hear it start to boil in there. We're gonna get this smoking again. And want to take out any puddles that might be on there. Kind of coat the outside as well with the grease. Kind of helps with rust prevention. Getting it nice and seared, covering the outside as well. Again, make sure you don't have any puddles of oil on here. Want a nice, smooth, even coat. And we're going to let that burn off the first smoking as we start to season the griddle with our first layer. So rather than bore you through all these different layers, because we're going to do this a total of 5 times, we're going to just speed through all this process and we'll go from there. So we'll come back to you when we're all done with the seasoning of the griddle. And now for our 5th and final layer. Again, just trying to keep these thin. My 3rd layer got a little thicker than I wanted it to be in some spots. And just make sure you don't have any bubbles or issues with things. The chipping of the nice layer. You get a nice seasoned griddle layer here. You got a couple bubbles popping in the back there. So again, just doing the outside each time. Make sure you keep that rust down. Make sure I got a nice even coat on here. We got a couple pulls in the back here still. So there we go, the fresh seasoning of the LoCo 36-inch griddle. This thing's pretty slick. It's literally had to turn this on, and I turned all 3 knobs to low, pushed the ignite button, turned it all over to sear, and let it run for about 10-15 minutes before I got it fired up and before I started putting my first layer on. So I want to make sure it was nice and hot. So we can start to see definitely some center darkening here where the heat primarily is. And you know, we've got a nice even coat on here all the way around. Everything's looking good. I'm gonna probably come back through and wipe off the white here around the edges once this thing cools a little bit, get the grease off of those edges. But I want to make sure that this is nice and well seasoned, and hopefully we'll be doing our first cooking on this in the next day or so here with some smash burgers. We may show you a video on how to do that, and I'm definitely be doing some type of stir fry with chicken and some peppers and onions as well, and hopefully some pineapple. So we'll see you in the next Hammer Nail Guy podcast. Now doing some barbecue and some griddling along the way. This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this, and see what type of good meals we can come up with and type of recipes that we can cook on this more than just your normal burgers that someone might use this for. So definitely excited to share this with you, and we'll talk to you again. 73.